Hello, I'm Death's Arrow, and welcome to episode 22 of What I'm Thinking. In this episode, I will look at the Black Prince, a tank that seems like more of the same after the Churchill 7, but actually acquits itself fairly well. From a historical perspective, the Tank Infantry A43 Black Prince was a prototype project developed in 1943 to create a heavier version of the Churchill tank capable of mounting the 17-pounder anti-tank gun. Due to the small turret ring, the Churchill's hull needed to be widened in order to accommodate the larger caliber gun, but kept most of the other components from the Churchill. Strangely enough, this also included the same engine that was considered underpowered on the 40-ton Churchill Mark 7, and the Black Prince was 10 tons more. The Black Prince was designed to mount the same turret as the Churchill Mark 1, but that turret was never fitted on the tank. 6 prototypes of the experimental tank were produced, but the project was abandoned in 1945 in favor of the Challenger, Sherman Mark 5C, and the Comet. In World of Tanks, the Black Prince, at least on paper, appears to be a slightly upgraded Churchill 7, a tank that I didn't particularly care for and expected more of the same from the Black Prince. But those seemingly slight upgrades make a big difference in the tank's performance. The first improvement is in mobility due to the Black Prince having a 600 horsepower top engine, which doubles the horsepower available to the Churchill 7. This makes the Black Prince accelerate and turn significantly faster. Unfortunately, the top speed is still capped at 20 kilometers per hour. While you still need to be careful and selective when pushing a flank, the improved mobility helps to avoid arty and keep the tank's thick front armor pointed at the enemy. This leads to the second improvement, which is the tank's armor. While the hull armor is similar in thickness to the Churchill 7, it's much more effective due to proper modeling. The Churchill 7's armor has holes in it which don't exist on the Black Prince. The turret armor is also significantly thicker. The armor is particularly effective against other Tier 7s, semi-effective against Tier 8s, and not that effective against Tier 9s. Armor angling is very useful to make the front plate more effective, and the tracks are essentially black holes that eat shells with only the tracks taking damage. The top gun on the Black Prince is the 17-pounder, which is a very slight improvement over the 77mm top gun on the Churchill 7. 13mm more penetration and 10 points additional damage is all it gets. The gun will struggle against higher tiers, and I highly recommend carrying premium rounds for tough targets. One of the issues with a number of British guns around this tier is how spastic they are accuracy-wise. Expect your shells to fly anywhere within the reticule and not necessarily in a straight line, so the smaller the reticule is when you fire, the better. It should also be noted that the Black Prince has very little gun depression, much like the other Churchill tanks. The Black Prince plays differently depending on what the top tier is in a given battle. In Tier 7 matches, the Black Prince is a flank pusher. Its armor will be very effective against the opponents it will face and allows you to wade right in and brawl with pretty much anything. You do need to choose your push direction carefully, as the tank's limited speed makes it difficult to change flanks mid-battle. If you make a bad choice early on, you could end up chasing the main action for the entire match. You also need to be hyper aware of the minimap to make sure that if the enemy pushes through in another location that you turn back as soon as possible, otherwise you stand no chance of getting back in time to defend cap. In Tier 8 and 9 battles, the Black Prince becomes a support tank. Tier 9 tanks will have no problem cutting through the Black Prince's armor, and the 17-pounder will be rather ineffective even with premium rounds in a frontal engagement. Tracking opponents in the open for teammates to beat on becomes an effective strategy. Flanking can also be effective, but requires a lot of time to set up because the Black Prince is so slow. For equipment on this tank, I recommend a vertical stabilizer to improve aim time on the move, a rammer to improve reload times, and while I went with a spall liner to protect against arty, a toolbox likely would be more useful to help with track repairs. For crew skills, I recommend repair first, as all the Churchill tanks suffer from slow track repair times and the Black Prince is no different. Other useful skills would be Sixth Sense, clutch braking, off-road driving, snapshot, situational awareness, and safe stowage. The first replay I'll be looking at is a solo battle on Fjords from February 17, 2013. Please note that this is an 8.3 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 7 match with 3 Tier 7s, 3 Tier 6s, 7 Tier 5s, and 2 Tier 4s on each side. No arty in this match. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. As the match loads in, I've spawned at the western base, which gives me limited options. Going north isn't viable due to the slow speed of my tank and the terrain, so I plan to go south. Depending on how the team distributes, I'll either stay in the middle or head all the way south. With no arty in the match, I can afford to be more aggressive and take advantage of my tank's armor, but I also need to be careful and not overextend in case there's a breakthrough. As the battle gets underway, I immediately start heading south. It appears that the majority of our team is headed north. Even the scouts have turned back and are headed north as well. Ideally, that means we have an advantage on that flank. Depends how smart they play it, obviously. It appears that we're only going to have 4 tanks to cover the middle and the south. That could potentially be a big issue. No arty in the match, so I can be a little bit more aggressive, although I don't want to get too far from base in case there's a breakthrough somewhere. Across the middle, keeping my turret pointed towards where the enemy positions are in order to keep some strong armor in that direction. It's usually a safe bet when you cross an open area where you specifically know the enemy's going to be. Got a T-49 here, lining them up. Get a hit and knock him down. Got a T-50 breaking through the middle, spinning back around. Line him up, miss my shot. Trying to line him up again, he goes behind the rock. Get a beat on him, I miss. Line him up. He's almost out of range, and I pop him in the back and knock him down. After taking down the T-50, I noticed that most of the enemy activity is in the middle of the map. With only 4 tanks covering the middle and south, I decided to stay centrally located in case another one of the enemy's scouts try to make a run. Try to get a beat on the T-34. I miss. Gunfire's a little wild there and goes over his head. Second shot's a hit, although it was a little bit of a low ball. T-34 gets knocked down by our Churchill 7 right before I could fire. Trying to line up the IS. Miss over the top of him. Keeping an eye on the IS. Miss that shot. Gun's acting a little wild for me. Another miss. Another miss. Got some activity in the south. Our M445 knocks down the Panzer IV. Got a hit on the IS, but no damage. Probably a critical hit. Currently tied. Looking at the mini-map. KV-1's pushing in on our M445 in the south. Got at least 5 tanks in the middle. And they've got some tanks up north that appear to be pushing. Get another hit on the IS. As he sits out in the open, I'll keep firing on him. I've got some protection from the terrain, although he did hit me in the track. Get another hit on the IS. Looks like our north is taking a beating. Our scouts are trying to push around the IS. Get another hit on him. Take a shot on the run and miss. With our team failing in the north, I decide to push on the enemy's IS. He's their last heavy hitter, and taking him down would remove the biggest threat left. Our Chaffee is broken all the way through. There's no arty, so there's probably nothing back there. He's probably looking to get some rear shots on the enemies in the south. I'm continuing to push on the IS. North has been pretty much beaten down, just an M6 left up there. While I've been moving up on the enemy IS, our southern flank is folded. The IS is pulled back and I don't have time to chase after him. I need to turn back and defend Cap quickly. As I mentioned in the intro, the Black Prince requires hyper-awareness of the minimap in order to plug holes as soon as you notice them. Our Chaffee is capping the base. Likely why the IS is not pursuing me. Probably could have knocked me down, or at least gotten a couple hits in as I go back to defend. Stug pops up, I pop him in the face on the run. Continue to push up, he bounces off me, knock down the Stug on the run. Pushing in on the KV-1. Get a hit. Bounce his return shot. Get tracked by the T-25 AT, get another hit on the KV-1, bounce his return shot, and then knock him down. T-25 AT gets another hit on me. I get a hit for no damage. Bounce my round. Decide to aim for the driver slit. And I knock him down. Enemy is capping our base. Staying centrally located has paid off as I'm in position to get back to base in time to stop the enemy's southern push and defend Cap. This is one of the big issues with the Black Prince. If you're too aggressive with your maneuvering and if maneuver too far out of base, there's no way you'd make it back here in time to stop a Cap. Have to be hyper aware of the minimap at all times in order to know where the enemy is, so that if there is a breakthrough in any particular flank that you're ready to maneuver way ahead of time so that you can get back to defend. bounce a shot off the KV-13. He jumps off cap and I hit him. Do damage on that second shot. He's spinning around me. Tracks me and get another hit on him. Hit him again and track him. Does a little damage on that shot. And I knock him down. Enemy is down to one tank, just the IS that was at 650 hit points, I believe. I'm not going to climb the hill. I'm going to swing back around the house. I want to make sure I get cover in case that IS decided to push back. He did defend cap and knock down our Chaffee. It's myself now and an M6. The M6 is coming to support me. My general expectation would be that the IS will push the middle, although he could push the south to try to distract us. No real coordination here even in chat. The M6 came back towards me and we're pushing together. The IS has stayed in the middle like I figured he would. Trying to line him up, and I miss. The M6 is a little further ahead. Line up my next shot. I'm actually shooting him under the supports of the building. This is an effective strategy, especially with a tank that doesn't have gun depression like the IS. See the side of his turret, and I get another hit. M6 is pushing in hard. I'm pushing up to try to get a shot, figuring he's going to get knocked down, but he doesn't. And the M6 knocks down the IS for the win. Looking at the after action screens, I destroyed 6 tanks for a top gun, damaged 2 more, hit 22 of 34 shots for 2,351 points of damage, and earned 1,668 experience before the double. Overall, the key to this match was staying centrally located. This gave me maximum flexibility as the team folded on first the northern and then the southern flank. Had I pushed the southern flank rather than staying in the middle, I may not have been able to make it back in time to defend base. Thankfully, my team did soften up the enemies that did make it through, allowing me to mop them up with little trouble. Finally, I pushed up the middle with our M6, which while it wasn't coordinated, worked out rather well, allowing us to finish off the remaining enemy IS. The second replay that we'll be looking at is a solo battle on Ensk from January 22nd, 2013. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is an encounter battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 8 battle with 6 Tier 8s on each team. My team has 5 Tier 7s while the enemy team has 6. My team has 2 Tier 6s and a Tier 4 while the enemy team has a Tier 5 and a Tier 4 scout. Both teams have a single Tier 4 arty piece. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. As the match loads in, I'm a mid-tier tank in the battle, and I'll be facing quite a few tanks that I will struggle to penetrate frontally with standard AP rounds. Premium ammo will likely be needed. My armor won't be particularly effective either against the enemy's top tiers, although strategic angling will cause some bounces. My plan, since this is an encounter battle, is to go to the 7 column and support my team's higher tiers, taking advantage of any opportunities that they create. And as the match gets underway, I immediately start heading westward in order to get down by the train tracks. Going to have to feel things out in this battle. I don't want to rush in. The enemy has superior guns that can easily penetrate my armor. Got a scout rushing up the train tracks. ISU 152 on the eastern flank out in the field. He's not going to last long. Chaffee pushing up, M445, train tracks in the building up there. Lining up the Chaffee. Get a hit. Got more enemies pouring into the lumberyard. And I hit the wood pile. I'm going to let the Chaffee go, trying to line up the ISU. I get a hit on the side of his mantlet and he's knocked down. Trying to get a shot on that IS-3. His plate was pretty flat to me, but I hit the wood pile. That time I get a hit in on his tracks for damage. I back out as I took some damage from Artie there. The enemy's AMX M445 is pushed in on me. This one-on-one situation favors my tank. I will be able to bounce some of his shots, but he will not be able to bounce mine. And since he's in the open, I can take full advantage of my quick reload. Keep my armor angled, it bounces return shot. And another hit. And as he pushes back, I'm going to pursue. I'm not going to let him get away. Get another hit, got some supporting fire there. Bounces return shot. That time I get a critical hit. Push up on him. Get another hit, bump him. Keep my armor angled. And knock him down. With the M445 knocked down, I see an opening to flank around behind the enemies in the rail yard. The Black Prince is an unlikely flanker due to its slow speed, but if the opportunity presents itself like in this situation, a power flank can be devastating. Also have a T-69 in the backfield, he's pushing up. It's going to be a very effective flanking maneuver here. Push between the fueled tanks. Got a T-20 out in the open. I'm going to have flank shots on him. Pop him in the side. T-69 ends up knocking him down. Got a Tiger II out in the field in front of me. Also have an AT-15A, T-29, and an IS-3. Line up the AT-15A and our Tiger P knocks him down before I can fire. Trying to line up the IS-3, I get a hit in the flank. And the enemy T-29 is pushing in on me. I get a hit on him. My track is repaired, I'm backing out of the opening to try to isolate him. Gets another hit on me. I hit him and do damage. He's also showing his rear to our front line. Get another hit. And already knocks him down. Now going to pursue the IS-3. This is a dangerous encounter for me. While I do have the hit point advantage, his gun is going to be extremely effective, and his front armor is going to be hard for me to pen. Get a flank hit, he also gets hit from behind as he pursues me. Had his side pin, but I missed my shot. Trying to keep him in front of me, keep him at a slight angle to my armor. I bounce off him. I am using premium rounds here. It's my only option. Get a hit for damage. Continuing to try to keep him in front of me. Get another penetrating hit. He hits me for damage. I bounce off his front plate. Now that he's static, I aim up on his commander's cupola and I knock him down. And we win the match. Based on information from the Wot Replay Analyzer, I destroyed 2 tanks, damaged 4 more, hit 24 of 28 shots for 3,091 points of damage, and earned 1,834 experience before the triple. Overall, while I knew going into this match that I would struggle against the enemy's tier 8s, judicious use of premium rounds and opportunistic play allowed me to play an important role in this match. While isolated one-on-one situations aren't the norm, knowing when you have an advantage when they do occur is critical. I knew I had an armor advantage on the M445 and aggressively pursued it, allowing me to take them apart without taking a lot of damage in the process. I then saw a flanking opportunity and pushed in behind enemy lines, fully disrupting the enemies on that flank. As mentioned in the match, the Black Prince isn't an ideal flanker due to its low speed, but a power flank from a slow heavy tank when done in the right situation can have a devastating impact on a match. Thank you for watching this episode of What I'm Thinking. Stay tuned for another episode soon. In the next episode, I will take a look at the VK-3002D, a tank that was intended to be the German version of the Soviet T-34 and the first German tank that I've covered in quite a while.
Ha ha ha.